As you know, we have a not-so-affectionate name for the alternative Prime Minister, and it is each-way-Albo. Why? Because he says one thing on a Monday and will change it by a Wednesday. Because, of course, he somehow thinks we don't have access to, firstly, our basic memory function, or secondly, videotape. Well, as you know, in the past couple of days, there has been huge changes for the country when it comes to national security, and they are for the better. At the very same time that Anthony Albanese was writing opinion pieces saying that climate change was supposed to be front and centre in the relationship with the United States, our Prime Minister was doing deals to make sure that national security was front and centre in the relationship with the United States, a country, of course, he is in as we speak.
I had made it very clear that a conventional submarine would no longer be meeting our strategic interests and what we needed those boats to do. That had been communicated very clearly many months ago. We were working through those issues.
And while it's not necessarily each-way-Albo, it's definitely each-way-Labor, which is, of course, Alboitis that has been caught by the party. Because, you see, when he thought that there was mass public support, and there is, for this deal, you heard this.
Labor welcomes the Australia-UK-US agreement.
But then, of course, there are the ghosts of Prime Ministers past who say things like this.
The secrecy factor has proceeded from what really drives Morrison here, which is a domestic political agenda shift, given pandemic impacts on his government's re-electability, and the desperate need to have a massive agenda shift to national security, with him looking hairy-chested on China.
Yeah, that's how it works. You can just convince the President of the United States and the Prime Minister of the UK to help bail you out of an election situation. Okay. And then there's the former Prime Minister, Paul Keating, who suggested that this makes things worse when it comes to China. Of course, there is an endless stream of left-wing media articles that want to tell us about how offended the French were, which means we got this out of the Labor Party today, where basically they were singing off the Keating song sheet.
There are reasonable questions about costs. There are reasonable questions about jobs, there are reasonable questions about capability, and there are reasonable questions about our capacity to act independently. And all of those issues are reasonable. And it is, as I said, very disappointing we see the Prime Minister playing the politics again.
So we support it, but playing politics. What's the politics being played here? Apart from something that will help defend our country and make us even closer to the countries that need to defend Western values. That's why I've said it many times before. You can't trust Labor when it comes to China. And they want to have an each-way bet, just like each-way-Albo. Exactly a point made by the Prime Minister today.
Within days, the Labor Party seems to be having an each-way bet. I don't have each-way bets on national security.
Bloody oath. And that's why, when it comes to the crunch, when it comes to a choice, you've got that bloke or each-way-Albo, and the each-wayers that will make up the decision-makers of a future government.